How to Be the Very Best That No One Ever Was, a beginner's video guide to Pokemon, the trading card game, by Bohan. Before we can learn how to play Pokemon, we must first go to Pokemon School, where we will learn how to build a deck, types of cards, and setting up the board. The deck consists of 60 cards. There are 3 main types of cards that are Pokemon, Trainers, and Energy cards. For the Pokemon, there are basic cards. These cards evolve into Stage 1 and Stage 2. There are also basic EX cards. These cards have special rules if they get knocked out. For the trainers, there are 3 main types of trainer cards as well. There are item cards that have a single one-time use and must be discarded after being used. There is no limit on how many may be played per turn. The stadiums can be played at any time during your turn, but they stay into play for the rest of the game. Then there are supporters that can only be played once per turn. There are special items called Pokemon tools that can be attached to your Pokemon, giving them special effects. There are also A-Spec cards. There may only be one of these cards in each of your decks. This one is an example of an A-Spec tool. It could be attached to a Pokemon. There are also Full Art cards that have no effects on the way that the game is played. They are just worth more because they are cool looking. For energies, there are actually 11 different types of energies. Starting at the top and going clockwise, we have Fire, Fighting, Electric, Dragon, Grass, Water, Dark, Fairy, Psychic, Steel, and Colorless. On the left is a basic energy card. There are also special energy cards, and only one of these may be played per turn. So for the board, as we set up the board, we can see that we have a prize pile. There must be 6 cards in your prize pile to begin the game. There's your deck, your hand, your active Pokemon. There always must be an active Pokemon in play. And then your bench. Your bench has a maximum of 5 Pokemon in it at once. And then you have your discard pile. So enough for the learning. I want to win. But how do I win? There are 3 ways to win. First is by knocking out all of your opponent's Pokemon. If you have your active and they get knocked out, they must be replaced with a Pokemon from the bench. If you run out of bench Pokemon, you lose. Or if your opponent runs out of bench Pokemon, you win. You could take all of your prize cards. So, if you knock out one of your opponent's Pokemon, you get 1 card. If you manage to knock out one of the EX cards that we talked about earlier, then you get 2 cards. The next way to win is by making your opponent deck out. Here we have a pretty full deck. If you draw the last card, then you would lose on your next turn. So let's play. First, you flip a coin to determine who goes first. Next, you take your deck and you shuffle it. Careful not to bend your cards. Next, you set out your prize pile. Put out 6 cards, and then draw your 7 cards for your first hand. You must have a basic Pokemon in your hand, or else you have to reshuffle and redraw. So, in this hand, we have 3 basic Pokemon. Starting from the left, we have Miltank, Horsey, and Froakie. All 3 are basic, and one of them must be put in the active, with the rest being put on the bench. So, we put out Miltank, and the next 2 go on the bench. So stages of a turn. First, you want to draw a card, then play cards from your hand. There's no particular order in which cards must be played, so you can make decisions about how you want to strategically play your cards. You could attach energies, you could play trainers from your hand, you could retreat your Pokemon from your active to your bench, sending out a new Pokemon. In order to do this, you must pay the energy costs. You could evolve your Pokemon, although you cannot evolve on your first turn. And then you can also play any Pokemon from your hand to your bench. Then to end your turn, you can either attack or decide to end. If it is your first turn, however, you cannot attack. There are special conditions that could be caused from attacking. If we look back up at the victory bell, it talks about how in its ability, the active Pokemon could now be confused or poisoned. These could also be special effects from attacks. These status conditions include being confused, poisoned, burned, asleep, or paralyzed. If a Pokemon is confused and they decide to attack, they must flip a coin. If it's tails, they take 3 damage counters. If they are poisoned, then once in between turns, they take 10 damage. If they are burned, then once in between turns, you must flip a coin. If tails, you take 2 damage. If they are asleep, then once in between turns, you must flip a coin. If it's tails, they do not wake up and they cannot retreat nor attack. If they are paralyzed, then they can not attack nor retreat for that turn no matter what. So let's play a quick hand to see what we've learned. Here we have our Miltank, our Horsey, and our Froakie out in the field of play. And we have one energy card and a trainer and 2 other cards. So first we're going to draw a card. Our trainers are a rare candy and an Ultra Ball. An Ultra Ball lets you discard 2 cards from your hand in order to search your deck for any one Pokemon. A rare candy lets you choose one of your basic Pokemon, skip the stage 1, and play the stage 2 straight to play. So the first thing that we're going to do is let's attach the energy to Miltank. Now, we could evolve Seadra or Horsey into Seadra and use the rare candy to turn Froakie straight into Greninja, which is a stage 2, but we'll have to wait until our next turn. So, on our next turn we draw another card, and this time we get a supporter. This one is Bianca. It lets you draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand, but we can only play 1 supporter per turn. So, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to evolve Horsey into Seadra, and then we're going to take the rare candy and evolve Froakie into Greninja. Now all we have left in our hand is the Bianca and the Ultra Ball. We can't play the Ultra Ball because we don't have 2 cards to discard, but we can still play the Bianca. If we play the Bianca, then we have only 1 card left in our hand, which is the Ultra Ball, so now we can draw 5. Look at all the cards we just got. Wow! Now what do we do? Well, now we can evolve Seadra into Kingdra on our next turn, because Kingdra is the stage 2 of Seadra. We could also use this Water Shuriken ability. Once during your turn, you may discard a water energy from your hand. If you do, put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So let's go ahead and do that. Chansey, which is the opponent's Pokemon, has an HP of 100. And so if we do this, then her HP will be knocked down to 70. Next, we can take our Ultra Ball and we'll discard a Frogadier and a Greninja in order to find a Froakie. It's always important to stack up your bench when it is your turn at the beginning of a game. Now all we have left in our hand is a Bicycle, a Greninja, and a Kingdra. The Bicycle lets you draw cards until you have 4 in your hand, so if we play that, we can draw 2 more cards. Those 2 cards that we just got happen to be energies. Now we're going to take one of those energies, and since we haven't attached one this turn, we'll attach it to Seadra. Now, we could have attached it to Miltank, but Miltank would need 3 energies in order to do the Hammer-In. Now, most cards will require that you have specific energies attached. However, colorless energies can be energies of any type. Now, we have Greninja on our bench, which means that since he's a stage 2, Powerful Friends will actually do 80 damage instead of 10. And because Chansey only has 80 or 70 health left, we're going to go ahead and do Powerful Friends, knocking out Chansey, letting us draw our first prize card. 5 more prize cards and you win. Now these are just the basics, and there are new rules every year. The whole point is to have fun, learn new things, and to meet new people. So, I hope you've learned a little bit more about Pokemon the trading card game.